Again, I just want to thank the church and everybody who had the courage to come out today and try to find out how they can be active in helping their situation and also their community situation, because it's a community situation. When one home goes under, that really hurts the value of all homes. So really, it's really nothing to be ashamed of, and it's just great to see everyone out here. I know we talked about Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, and they're very important, especially in the legal realm right now. And I don't really want to take the time to kind of fill everybody up with any real legal jargon. I just want to kind of talk about in simple terms how, as homeowners, we can take the fight to them legally. As everybody knows, you initially signed what is called a security deed when you have a home. You had that opportunity when you went and sat with somebody, and you signed your name to that long 10-page document that stated, I borrowed this, I'm going to pay back this in this amount of time. Everybody generally has done that at some point if they own a home. Well, what's strange is, and as Rob has just mentioned, after you've done that, and you borrowed your money from whatever lender, whether it be Bank of America, whether it be a Bayview, or a Wells Fargo, many times, only days after you've signed your name on that dotted line, Fannie or Freddie has now purchased your loan. Now that means a lot. That means a lot because at some point, if you ever get behind or ever default, these individuals are going to be the ones who determine whether or not you can get a principal reduction, get a modification, or even determine whether or not you're going to get evicted. And let me tell you how that happens. After you have been in your home, you've been paying your mortgage, and all of a sudden you hit a downside. You either lose your job, you get less hours, you find yourself behind. Now this whole time, you thought that the person you borrowed your money from was a Wells Fargo, was a Bank of America. They're the individuals that you've been paying your money to. We call those guys the servicer, okay? Now, as I told you before though, Fannie and Freddie will actually own your loan this whole time. But you'll never get any paperwork about it. You'll never know, ever, until the day, really. You're gonna find out today. If you get behind, you find yourself in default, and you call your servicer up, you say, Bank of America, I'm in default, what can I do? Can I get a modification? Can I get a principal reduction? And they tell you, well, you have to fill out certain paperwork. You may qualify for HAMP or homeowner or some type of modification program. What you don't realize is that Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac are the ones who are actually setting up the terms and determining whether or not you can qualify for those things. As Rob just mentioned, Fannie and Freddie don't do principal reductions. But this whole time, you're communicating with Wells Fargo, communicating with Bank of America, thinking they're the ones who are pulling the strings. But in fact, it is these two companies. Now I want to remind you, this doesn't happen with all homes, but a good number, I would almost say about 60% or more, are actually owned by these two individuals. So what does that mean if you get into foreclosure? How does that affect your legal rights? Well, at some point, let's say you've been working on this modification and you tried everything. You tried to get them all the paperwork, but somehow they always tell you they've lost your documents or you're too late. It happens all the time. And you find yourself with a notice of foreclosure sale. And it's that little document that you're supposed to get. It's a letter, and it's supposed to be at least 30 days out before you get foreclosed on. So to give you an example, the next time somebody can get foreclosed on outside of this first Tuesday in September, let's say it would be the first Tuesday in October. Well, the bank who, quote, owns your loan, when in actuality would be Freddie Mac or Fannie Mae, has to send you a letter stating that they are your, quote, secure creditor, and the individual who actually has the right to amend or modify your loan. So let me just clear that up. You're thinking your secure creditor is going to be Bank of America. You're thinking the individual who can modify or amend your loan is going to be Bank of America or Wells Fargo. But in fact, the person who's actually your secure creditor, the one who is pulling the strings, is Freddie Mac or Fannie Mae. Well, that's important because after you get this letter that says Bank of America is your secure creditor, or Fannie Mae is the one who can amend or modify your loan, if you know that these two individuals are actually the owner or investor of your loan, you know that notice is a lie. So how can that happen? Well, there is a statute that Georgia has, one of the few that are helpful for homeowners, that if you get this letter, and it doesn't provide the correct information, who actually is a secured creditor, if they foreclose on you, you can immediately file a lawsuit to get a rescission of foreclosure or even get damages. Now that's major because there are thousands of people who have been foreclosed on by people, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, various banks. And in fact, they never knew that Freddie Mac or Fannie Mae owned their loan. They never knew that the individual that was actually supposed to, they thought, were trying to help them get a modification, were actually behind the door pushing their foreclosure forward. Now, that means that we need to be informed. That means that we need to be active. Because the only way we can find these things out is to come together as a community, understand where we can find out this information to determine whether or not Freddie Mac or Fannie Mae actually owns our loan. Because the banks won't tell us. At least they won't tell us, on their own volition. We'd have to ask or know how to ask. So that's why we have a Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac loan lookup station in the back, which is really important for your rights, to understand whether or not you have rights later on to file a lawsuit. But let's also talk about what happens if after you've realized that Freddie Mac or Fannie Mae may own your loan and you get foreclosed on. So let's say in the first Tuesday in October, which is the only time you can actually get foreclosed on, it's the first Tuesday of every month. Just remind them. Only the first Tuesday of every month. So don't worry about if you get foreclosure notice. Don't think it can happen on the 15th, the 20th, the 30th. You don't have to worry about that. Only the first Tuesday of every month. It's very important. But let's say you get foreclosed on. And you're in your home and you think, oh my God, I've got foreclosed on. What can I do now? Do I leave my house? What can I do? Legally, you become a tenant once you've been foreclosed on. So what does that mean? That means you have certain rights as a tenant, even after foreclosure. That means they cannot come to your house, cannot knock on your door and tell you to leave. They can't. You must be evicted like any other tenant. That means that they have to first notice you for what is called a dispossessory notice. Okay? That's when you go to court, you make your argument, and they have to get what is called a writ of possession. All of this is important because if you know in what stage you're in, you can understand what legal rights you can employ to keep yourself in your home. Now, I don't want to be too long and go on and on and on about what your legal rights are and what you can do to possibly save your home. I'll be here after we finish up with the program to answer any questions. I've also put pamphlets out so that you can call me at another time in the event that you can't talk to me today. But what's most important to know is these individuals, Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae, they may appear like they're the individuals there to help you, but oftentimes they're the ones evicting you and foreclosing on you. And again, I'll be happy to receive any of your questions after we finish with the program. And thank you.